Back in 2020, I published a review of Keansburg Amusement Park, calling it the worst amusement park in the world. Simply put, the park was in terrible shape. Most rides were closed, the ones that were open looked like they were falling apart, the park felt dead, and there was poor communication about ride availability. Over the past few years, people have commented in the original review stating I was too harsh on the park, and admittedly, 2020 was a bad year for many theme parks. So in the interest of fairness, I returned to Keansburg in 2026. Did I have a better experience? In short, yes I did. Find out why in this review. Keansburg Amusement Park originally opened back in 1903, so this park is over 120 years old. There's a lot of history, and in the past, the park was bustling, but several key developments have happened. First, the owners opened the Runaway Rapids Water Park across the street in 1996. This is operated as a separate gate. This is a very good water park, so much so that it seems far more popular than the amusement park now. If you want to learn more about that place, I have a full review already published. The other important date is October 2012. That is when the park was hit by Hurricane Sandy. The flooding and winds caused substantial damage to the town and parks. This necessitated the removal of multiple rides. It is impressive the park was even able to reopen the following year, but this took a major toll on the property, and they've been playing catch up ever since. It also does not help that the owners feel like they're being squeezed out by the town. This is a story I've seen with countless boardwalk parks. The towns see the land as prime real estate for beachside housing. Keansburg Amusement Park is still clinging on, and I hope it can survive. I visited on a Friday afternoon in the summer. It was an overcast day with a threat of afternoon thunderstorms, which eventually did materialize. I did not expect heavy crowds, but I did expect more people. There were many points where I could look down the midway and not see another guest in sight. I would estimate there were no more than 10 groups total in the park. Now I've heard the park is busier at night, which is the case with most boardwalk parks, but this was still exceptionally low attendance. Needless to say, everything was a walk-on. The only delay was waiting for a ride attendant to walk over to operate the ride. This is one of the biggest changes I noticed from 2020. I assume staffing was especially problematic due to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. When I visited, I estimated that at least half the rides were closed. This is incredibly frustrating for guests. From memory, they had crews assigned to each ride. It is clear staffing is still an issue. Rotating ride operators is a better way to handle low staffing in my opinion. This allows a larger majority of attractions to be available, which is much better for guest satisfaction. The only ride down my 2026 visit appeared to be the swinging ship. This ride was partially assembled, with active work being done in the gearbox. While you may have to wait for another ride to finish a cycle, operators were quick to load rides once they walked over. That was much appreciated because some parks with low attendance will hold rides to wait for more riders. I also need to commend the park for being more responsive about ride availability. In 2020, I tried to contact the park in advance. I messaged them on social media and called them, but I got no reply. In 2026, the park was responding to social media messages in a timely fashion. That allowed me to verify if Looping Star was open before driving to the park. So if there's a ride you care about, I recommend checking in advance if it's available. Some notes on Looping Star specifically, because I know that's the main reason most coaster enthusiasts will want to visit. 1. This ride cannot run in cooler weather. This means the ride will likely not be available at the start and end of the season. In 2026, the ride did not open until June for this very reason. Again, message the park in advance of your visit to confirm if it's open. 2. There typically must be at least 2 riders for the ride to run. I had special permission from the marketing team to get a solo ride when I was filming my POV. 3. Seating is strictly assigned front to back for weight distribution purposes. 4. The back car is currently unavailable. I do not know the exact reason, whether it's for maintenance or operational purposes. 5. I was advised by the park this ride cannot operate in the rain. I don't know if it closes temporarily if it rains, or if it could close for the day. Lastly, the park needed to weigh down the supports, so to do this, they weirdly built a usable swimming pool there. because why not? From the tall rides, you can see the beach and ocean, and on clear days, you can even see New York City's skyline. However, you cannot see any of this from the Midway, as your view is blocked by a large dune that runs along the back edge of the park. It is unfortunate you cannot see this nice backdrop as you're walking around. The park's aesthetics in general were improved upon from 2020. There was still visible junk and weeds in spots, and a lot of buildings looked run down, but the rides for the most part looked solid. A few even had fresh coats of paint. This park essentially feels like a permanent carnival. There is zero theming, but that is par for the course for most of these boardwalk parks out there. This park also does not have much shade along the Midway or ride queues. The best way to get out of the sun is to step into the arcade. I think the biggest downside for me aesthetically was the lack of crowds. It felt like I was walking through a closed park, not an open one. So many areas were lifeless because there were no guests in sight. Again, I visited on a weekday afternoon, but Runaway Rapids still had a good crowd. From what I've heard, that place is always busier, and I get why. It is arguably the best water park on the Jersey Shore. It has a good slide lineup, and is much better conditioned than the amusement park. It is clear more money is put into that property, and I don't blame them as attendance talks. The amusement park is free admission. You can choose just to walk around, pay per ride, or purchase a wristband. If you want a cheaper visit, come on a weekday because this park offers promotions. They are currently offering a complimentary ride wristband with a Runaway Rapids wristband Monday through Thursdays. Then they sell evening wristbands for less than $20 on weekdays. If you want a livelier crowd, I recommend visiting on a weekend, but rates are understandably higher. If you only want to ride one or two rides, you can alternatively pay per ride. Individual ride tickets cost $1.50. Kiddie rides cost 1 to 3 tickets, or $1.50 to $4.50. Then adult rides cost 4 to 6 tickets, or $6 to $9. Another fee you'll encounter is parking. You have two options. One, you can street park. This costs $3 per hour. This is the most economical option if you're staying for less than 3 hours. Alternatively, this park is a large dirt parking lot adjacent to the park. This costs $10 per day. Just note, it does not allow in and out privileges. If you don't have a car, you can access this park via public transit. There are buses running to and from Port Authority in New York City. This park's opening hours are a bit strange. During the main summer season, the amusement park typically opens at 11 a.m. with very limited rides. A majority of rides, food, and games then open at noon. Then the remaining rides, food, and games are scheduled to open at 2 p.m. It is worth noting that Looping Star frequently is one of the rides that opens late. Then the park closes around 9 or 10 p.m. on weekdays, and 10 or 12 on weekends. At the very start and end of the season, the park will have more limited hours, possibly opening late, or with significantly reduced ride offerings. As with many boardwalk parks, the hours are subject to change based on weather and demand. If the park is too quiet, they could close early. This is especially true in days with inclement weather. I have heard this can happen quite often. For the best experience, you want to visit on a clear day. If you're in doubt, try to contact the park in advance before driving down. The park occupies a long, thin plot of land. The layout is pretty simple. The far ends feature clusters of kiddie rides. Then the central area has larger adult rides. And because of the free admission there are multiple entrances to and from the street. Now let's run through the ride lineup. The park currently has 2 roller coasters. Looping Star is the larger of the two. This is a Pinfari looping cyclone. I was worried this ride would be rough given the over-the-shoulder restraints, but it only had 1 or 2 spots of light headbanging. The initial drop is zippy, and the pullout is super tight, so it offers sharp positive Gs. 1 or 2 of the turnarounds offer airtime pops. Then the vertical loop is extremely forceful the whole way through. The finale is rather lackluster due to a trim, but the start is quite intense for a ride of this scale. Sea Serpent is the park's kiddie coaster. Built by Myler, this is a peppy layout for what it is. I was able to ride it without a kid in 2020, but usually adults must have kids to ride this. Just keep that in mind if you're credit hunting. This park offers a much deeper flat ride lineup than coaster lineup. This is typically the wheelhouse for boardwalk parks. Double Shot is my favorite of the bunch. Although this drop tower really should be called Quad Shot, because this park offers double rides. This is something you'll see with a lot of the S&S double shots along the Jersey Shore. This is the park's tallest ride, standing 8 stories tall. The launches are weak, but you get okay ejector airtime at the top. And if you sit on the side facing the beach, you get a fantastic view towards the Manhattan skyline. On that note, I do wish this park had a slower observation ride of some kind like a Ferris wheel. I think any seaside park should have one. Lupo Plane is arguably the park's craziest flat. This Irely Lupo Plane offers excellent hang time over the top, and this needs to be noted, the lights were fully attached to the attraction in 2026. Compare that to my 2020 visit when a strand of lights was left dangling as the ride operated. While this park does not have a frisbee ride like so many Jersey Shore parks, their pendulum offerings are rounded out by a Pharaoh's Fury swinging ship and a Moby Dick flying carpet. There also used to be one of the Last Chance Chaos flat rides out there, but that was removed a few years ago. The best spinning ride here is Gravitron for the fast spin rate and positive Gs. They also have a Wisdom Tornado that can be spun quickly. This was a relocation. How do I know? Well, it's still decked out in decals from its days at John's Incredible Pizza Company. The final flat ride I know is the bumper cars for 2 reasons. One, this ride used to run loose scooters, but I believe these were damaged by Hurricane Sandy, so the ride now uses more modern Bertizon cars. 2, this ride was previously home to the Bumper Car Psychos, which was a cult of locals that turned Friday nights into high-octane bumper car nights. Another loss from Hurricane Sandy was the Spook House. This was an 80-year-old pretzel dark ride. Unfortunately, the park is yet to replace it with another dark ride. You will also not find any adult water rides here. They rely on the adjacent Runaway Rapids water park or the beach to keep guests refreshed. There is a small flume for kids though. Keansburg has a lot of kiddie rides available. Some of them are really old, and I believe a few of them may have even been built in-house. Beyond the rides, what else does this park have? You will not find any shows here, but the park is a large arcade and tons of boardwalk games. And there of course is food. You will find all sorts of quick service stands. I cannot speak to the quality as I was focusing on attractions because I was racing against a storm. What should the park add next? Usually, I would recommend parks to add some new rides, but I think general TLC is more dire here. Repaving the midway, tidying up the park, and refreshing the buildings would go a long way towards improving the park's atmosphere. This could cause guests to stay longer and subsequently spend more money. Do I recommend Keansburg Amusement Park? I definitely recommend the Runaway Rapids Water Park. I think that place is the Jersey Shore's best water park. So if you visit that place, it is worth popping into the amusement park as well, especially if you get one of those combo bands that includes both. I think the amusement park feels a bit like a dated carnival, but I had a fun time there in my return visit. This place is more affordable and less hectic than the other Jersey Shore boardwalk parks, but it cannot compete with the aesthetics or atmosphere of those parks. There is a lot for younger kids, but the adult ride lineup is decent at best. Having said all that, is Keansburg the world's worst amusement park as I stated in 2020? No. To be a contender for the world's worst park, you need to fail in nearly every area, which is what happened to me in 2020. But based on my most recent visit, Keansburg is doing much better in the operations department. Staff members were responsive and friendly, and a majority of the rides were available. If you are on a roller coaster road trip through New Jersey, consider hitting this park. It is quite possible to pop in for Looping Star after Six Flags Great Adventure closes. Just check with the park what their hours are before making the drive. Those are my thoughts on Keansburg Amusement Park, the historic seaside park in New Jersey. What are your thoughts about this park? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.